Barcelona new star, Chutian's legendary rise begins. Episode 141, Secret Appointment, Chelsea's greatest sincerity. The gates of the training base are locked. Uncle Doorman looked through the door railing and said helplessly, Chutian, it is the winter break, you should rest well. See those paparazzi reporters around you? If I let you in for training, that damn the International Underage Players Protection Society will come to my trouble. And the unscrupulous media of Marca also came to interview me. Ask you if you have received anything from such a hard training, and what the hell protected regulations. You hurry back to rest and relax for a few days. Chutian smiled apologetically. It turned out that I was training during the winter break these days, which brought so much trouble to the doorman uncle. Maybe you should learn Messi see Ronaldo, buy a house, and build a small training ground. House prices near La Masia are much cheaper than in Yenghua. Chutian only relies on 2 advertising endorsements, and can easily buy a villa in the annex. DD. The phone rang. Chutian looked at the screen. It's Minora Iola again. My little genius. This time, there's a really big guy to meet you. Really big people? Cruyff? Beckenbauer? Maradona? Bailey? Half an hour later, Chutian met Shevchenko in the hotel's private conference room. Both had flat expressions. Symbolically nodded, even if it was a show. Chutian knew Shevchenko in front of him. Not the big man, Mr. Minogue said. Shevchenko is a legendary star, super striker, and 2004 Ballon d'Or winner. Nickname, Nuclear Warhead. How strong was he at his peak? The world's second striker. Who was the first at the time? It's Deluo. Chelsea boss, Abu, did a lot of things for Shevchenko that ordinary people could not understand. Minora Iola asked, Mr. Shevchenko, it was Mr. Abu who asked us to come, and I would like to ask. Shevchenko looked at the short fat man with a look of pride, and said coldly, I don't know. The flesh on the short fat man's face trembled with anger. Chutian smiled and began to recall the deeds of this legendary star. In Yenghua, there are many people who are die-hard fans of Shevchenko. To what extent is it loyal? Nearly 20 years later, fans chased Mourinho and scolded, you ruined our Shevchenko. At that time, Shevchenko was old, his combat effectiveness had declined seriously, and Milan did not want him anymore. Abu still gave the then sky-high transfer fee and sky-high salary, and despite Mourinho's objections, brought Shevchenko to Chelsea. Abu's train of thought is clear. Chelsea already have 2 center forwards, Drogba and Crespo? Then sell Crespo. Let Shevchenko play the main force. Mourinho's tactical system does not have Shevchenko's place? Change. Big change. Re-establish the team around Shevchenko. Let Shevchenko have the greatest right to fire. How Shevchenko played 30 league rounds and only scored 4 goals. Why did Drogba score more than 20 goals? It must be a tactical problem. Change, until Shevchenko can score 20 goals. Shevkin science does not speak English? Then you coaching staff and all players should learn ULA. Shevchenko couldn't score the ball, it must be because he couldn't understand your language. The coaching staff also has to arrange a few Shevchenko compatriots. All arranged, all changed. How come Shevchenko only scored a few goals in a season? How did Drogba get into dozens? Must not feel the warmth of the family. Bring Shevchenko's distant relatives to the city of London as well. Schedule work. Arrange residency. Why can't Shevchenko score goals? How did Drogba get the golden boot? It must still be that the tactics have not changed. At last, Mourinho couldn't stand it. Leaving Chelsea for the first time, after Chelsea changed managers, Shevchenko's level fell even more severely. Countless fans in Yenghua, madly angry Mourinho, you ruined our idol. The European media evaluated Chelsea's reinforcement as the worst signing in the history of football. Even more unfortunate, Abu is so good to Shevchenko. A few years later, when Abu was in distress, Shevchenko. Instead, in front of the media, we must criticize Abu. Minora Iola was a little unhappy. His time is precious. Chutian's time was also precious. Chelsea boss Abu, what temporary and important things happened to delay this meeting? What does Shevchenko mean here? The short fat man was about to continue asking questions. Abu walked out and said apologetically, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I just spent a while in the bathroom and have been waiting for a long time. Minora Iola immediately laughed and said, it seems that Mr. Abu has made an appointment with someone else today, so let's go first. Heck, Chelsea are genuine. Abu looked at Shevchenko and said, Mr. Mino. Forget it, Andre, you go out first. Shevchenko's face darkened, and he turned and left the conference room. Abu explained, Andre happens to be in the Matador Kingdom, and my original idea was that everyone would eat together, and Chutian, you and he would definitely have a common topic. Andre is a very nice person, and may have just caused a little misunderstanding with you. Abu has a high emotional intelligence. 3 words and 2 words relieved the short fat man and Chutian. Chutian somewhat understood Shevchenko's indifferent attitude. In the 1990s, when Shevchenko was still at the Dynamo club, Coach Yenguo went there to pick out foreign players. The Dynamo club strongly recommended the teenager Shevchenko to the coach of Yenguo. The Yenguo coach commented, "No. His level cannot stand in the Yenguo football arena." Soon after, Shevchenko scored twice against Real Madrid's goal. He won the Champions League Golden Boot that season and shocked the world. And then later, Shevchenko went to AC Milan and became a legendary star of a generation. Abu hurriedly beckoned the two to sit down. "The contract and the team-building issue, Steven and Tenenbaum have talked to you. I don't want to repeat it. Chutian, I need more championship trophies. You get everything at Chelsea." Abu's words are concise and powerful. Chutian also realized why Shevchenko was here. Abu wanted to send a signal. Chelsea could give Chutian the same as Shevchenko. Give Shevchenko the highest salary. Give Shevchenko a main position. Tailor tactics to Shevchenko. If Shevchenko can't play, it must be someone else's problem. Even Mourinho can be left. Even if Shevchenko still can't play in 2 or 3 years, Chelsea is still willing to pay the top. There was an extravagant farewell ceremony when you left the team. After leaving the team, he is also a friend that Chelsea club will always respect. This trust of the club owner in the players is unique in the history of football. This is Chelsea's attitude towards Chutian. Minora Iora's brow furrowed. Abu is notoriously the most controlling boss. He does not understand football and prefers to meddle in team tactics. Football is not a one-man sport. No matter how strong a person is, it is difficult to decide the victory or defeat in the competition of the top giants. Otherwise, the 2 teams in each World Cup final are Messi and Ronaldo. If Chutian joins Chelsea like Shevchenko, the problem will be even more serious. The current Chelsea team is already a super team in European football today. Mourinho's tactical system is no problem. If Abu messed up the command, let Mourinho kick tiki-taka around Chutian? Chelsea into the Premier League version of Barca? Isn't Terry also going to be purged? In that case, is Chelsea still called Chelsea? If you build a team like around Shevchenko, the short fat man immediately laughed and said, "Mr. Abu, Barca already has a financial crisis, you can buy it. You don't have to rebuild the team. That's a lot of peace of mind." Buying Barca? Abu was a little moved, and after a few seconds of trance, he realized that it was just a joke. The 3 of them couldn't help but laugh. The atmosphere is also slightly more relaxed. Chutian knew that Chelsea's idea of rebuilding the team would definitely be through Mourinho's deliberations. The introduction of N'Golo Kante and his midfield partner is perhaps the biggest reform in Chelsea's tactical system. It's not about changing the original squad. Abu looked back, guessed the meaning of the short fat man's words, and explained, "The case of Shevchenko and Chelsea has made me understand a truth. Never interfere with Mourinho's tactical system. Chutian, you are the only genius that Mourinho and I admire very much. Your past performances have conquered Jose Mourinho, and Chelsea will guarantee your starting position. The failure of Chelsea and Shevchenko's cooperation will not repeat the same mistakes on you. Chelsea have brought the greatest sincerity." The club owner Abu's personal invitation. Regardless of salary package or subjective respect, it's impossible to refuse. Minora Iola said, "If Chutian leaves Barca during the winter transfer period, he will not be able to continue to represent Chelsea in the Champions League this season. Damn UEFA signing rules, it's a mouthful to read." Abu smiled, "It's okay, I'm willing to wait, there are only a few months left, isn't it?" Chutian pondered for a moment and nodded his head to 0. Episode 142. The secret contract is reached, winning the Chutian of the Super God in a row. Abu clapped his hands. Tenenbaum and Steven walked in. A contract with a gilded edge and printed with the Chelsea logo was placed in front of Chutian. Chutian took a look, a little confused about the few zeros behind the signing fee on the contract and a series of high bonus terms. Floating prize money after league and cup winnings. Mino Raiola read it carefully and signaled to Chutian that there was no problem with the contract. His voice was a little agitated. "I've never seen such a generous contract clause in my life. This contract is like a huge treasure. This will surely be ever the most expensive secret contract." Moments later, Chutian completed the signing with Chelsea. He will be transferred to Chelsea after Barca's Champions League fixtures. Abu shook hands with Chutian and said goodbye. "Let's meet at Stamford Bridge in the new season. Maybe we'll see you again in the next Champions League final." Half an hour later, Chutian returned to the first team's dormitory. Mino Raiola exclaimed, "You can't live here anymore. I'll help you buy a good house and arrange for the caregivers. Take care of your daily life." The short fat man also received a large commission in this contract at Chelsea, and he was a little incoherently excited. No, you won't be in Barcelona for a long time. I'll have to help you buy a house in the city of London. Wouldn't the suburbs of London be a little better? Mino Raiola muttered for most of the day before leaving under the advice of his assistant. Chutian did strength training in the dormitory. Drip. The phone rang. Chutian glanced at it. It was the female star of Great Britain, India. I pressed the reject button casually. He hasn't trained today and can't be delayed by anything else. During this time, he saved up 42 freely distributed attribute points. Match points have also been saved to 36 points. The schedules of the Big Five leagues after the winter break will be very relaxed, but Barca face opponents who are stronger than one. Start with the Champions League quarterfinals. No team is a weak brigade, including Benfica. The winter transfer period is erupting every day with heavy transfer news. A news of sky-high signing fees. Chelsea boss's secret meeting with young people shocked the world. In Yenghua, it occupied the first place in hot search. The number of comments and retweets has soared. Fake news. Chutian is deeply in love with Barcelona. Chutian is the soul of Barca. He's not leaving Barca, the new Shevchenko? Another Chelsea infighting drama will be set off. No wonder Chelsea wants to sell Ramirez to the Chinese Super League. It turned out that he had signed a contract with Chutian. Manchester City is not bad for money. Why is it so slow every time? It was preempted by Chelsea again. Chutian went to Chelsea. He didn't have to play so tired like he did at Barca. Enrique is the crown of a leash. Barca are all the main force, if there is no injury. Very strong. Just getting older. The winter break is over. Barca stars have returned. Messi dragged his luggage to the training base, looking at the sweaty Yenghua teenager and couldn't help but feel a little confused. Half a year ago, when we first met at the training ground, Chutian's other skills except passing were very weak, but now, he can be said to be the world's top midfielder. Teammates got together talking and laughing. Iniesta's injuries healed. Ni Shao also signaled that his ankle was no longer a problem. The atmosphere was harmonious. When Su blew the training whistle, the players gathered. Enrique lost. We have set a record for Barca's halfway winning streak. In the next half of the race, I will try new tactics. 3 center-back system. Alba and Alves looked at each other. Chutian recalled, the 3 center-back system, this retro tactic, will set off a trend at the European Championship next year, and a coach named Conte initiated a reform change, which is a stage change in football in the new era, and its impact has spread around the world. But Enrique's tactical reform at Barca has never been successful, and after the implementation of Enrique's 3 center-back tactical system in the past life, even the most powerful attacking Deportivo can break Barca's goal. Alba asked, Coach, what is the 3 center-back system? Enrique frowned and said, the 3 center-backs are the 3-4-3 formations. Alba and Alves looked at each other. This means that the main positions of the two of them will be affected. Alves said, so coach, how is this system different from the original? Enrique clenched his fists and exclaimed, we will continue to create the myth of streaks. Our goal is champions of the Champions League. The 3 center-back system is the future of Barca. Wednesday, Copa del Rey quarterfinals. Barca face Valencia at Camp Nou. Pre-match press conference. Enrique declared, Barca without injuries. It's invincible. Barca will use a new tactical system, which is an epic-making change. The race is intense. The first half ended. Barca trail Valencia 0-2. The 3-back system was crushed by Valencia's 2 wings flying together. Crazy. Alves and Alba were placed on the bench. Matthew partnered Mascherano and Peak formed the 3 center-backs. The midfield combination adds Roberto. 60th minute of the second half. Valencia flanks back, breaking the Barca goal again. 0-3. Chutian had to guide his teammates to restore the most conventional formation of 4-3-3. Fortunately, Matthew is a right back. Fortunately, Roberto is a super jackpot. Barca have 30 minutes left. 4 goals in a row. Reversed the game. Advanced to the Copa del Rey semi-finals. Chutian won the MVP of the game with 3 assists and 1 goal. After the game, Enrique declared, the reform of Barca's 3 center-back system has been successful. Barca will create a winning streak myth this season. La Liga round 16. Barca vs Bilbao. Chutian followed his teammates to the Basque country of the Matador Kingdom. Bilbao has a tradition that they only bring in players from the Basque country. Countless experts in Europe believe that if this La Liga team continues this tradition, it is chronic suicide. How can a local region compare to a global transfer market? Is there so many players in the Basque country who have La Liga strength? But, the president of Bilbao declared, even if it is demoted, nor will this tradition be discarded. They are Basques. There is no relegation in Bilbao. And a regular in European wars. Every season, it can bring a lot of trouble to Real Madrid, Majin, Barca. The game begins. Enrique adheres to the 3 center-back system. Chutian was also relieved. The 3 center-back system is just right to restrain Bilbao's offensive tactics. Bilbao in 2015 was very strong. Their number 1 star, Aduriz, the super center-forward, who has won the Sala Award for 2 consecutive years, the Europa League full boots. He is the Matador Nation, the best local shooter. He's a high-end version of Giroud. The game begins. Barca's 3 center-back system limits Aduriz. At the same time, the passing technology of Barca's midfield 4 also beat Bilbao's midfield 5. Ultimately, Chutian created 2 assists. Barca beat Bilbao 2-0. That's mainly because they have a talented defender, Laporte. It was Laporte who later joined Manchester City for €64 million. After the game, Enrique is confident, announced to the media, Barca's 3 centre-back system will be on the top of Europe. The next league schedule is relatively easy. In the 17th round of La Liga, Barca defeated Eibar 2-0. In the 18th round of La Liga, Barca beat Granada 3-0. In the 19th round of La Liga, Barca defeated Sevilla 2-1. In the 20th round of La Liga, Barca beat Malaga 5-0. Chutian also became the double number 1 in the top scorer list and the assist list. As the matchday progresses, the draw ceremony for the Champions League quarter-finals is about to begin. The promotional video that UEFA warmed up for this purpose also became popular around the world. The world is looking forward to the results of the draw. The promotional video has also been on the hot search in Yenghua. The number of comments has skyrocketed, no matter how it is arranged. It's all early Champions League finals. This year's top 8 are too strong. Stronger than ever. Manchester United, come on. The Red Devils shine in the Champions League. The red shirt is Benfica, Van Gaal's Manchester United, not worthy of the quarter-finals. Benfica also deserves? Good luck all the way. Don't say that about our Portuguese super conscience team. Benfica is not weak, but is cursed by Gutman. Ha 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 ha. What is Gutman's curse? Gutman led Benfica, defeated Barca and Real Madrid, and won the Champions League for 2 consecutive years, but was killed by Benfica's senior management. He cursed, from now on, Benfica will not win the European Championship in 100 years. The result came true, and Benfica reached the Champions League final 6 times. All lost. Their top brass also went to Gutman's tombstone to apologize. It was useless. Episode 143, quarter elimination round opens. Barca's got operate. The draw ceremony for the quarter-finals of the Champions League has always been the most high-profile. At this stage, all same league circumvention rules will be abolished. There are no seeded teams. There is no principle of avoidance with the National Football Association team, so any team has the possibility of meeting. It is an indiscriminate draw. Showdown between the giants. Giant stars. A contest of life and death, especially this year's quarterfinals. The quality of each match will be comparable to the semifinals. Semifinals. First team training base. Chutian picked up the sports newspaper and glanced at it, puzzled. Why are there no partitioning rules? Is there a draw ceremony after the Final Four? Iniesta said, the partitioning rules have been abolished for a long time. Chutian then remembered that in the 2018-19 season, the Champions League draw was only reintroduced to the division rules, and the quarter-final draw would be carried out together with the semi-final draw, and would not be drawn again after the Final Four were produced. When Su walked over, Chutian, get ready, Roberto has designated you as the club's player representative to participate in the Champions League draw ceremony. Chutian was a little confused about Roberto's brain circuitry. In the afternoon, he boarded a plane with Roberto and Enrique on the plane to the headquarters of UEFA. Enrique was full of spirits and constantly told Chutian about the strength of the 3 centre-back system. Chutian felt that the Barca manager was a bit of a demon. The 3 centre-back system is not bad, and it even has a miraculous effect on teams like Bilbao that have the target center as the tactical core. But Enrique's tactical system was not fully perfected. His tactical system summed up simply. The defender looked for Chutian looked for MSN, and MSN scored. Barca's passing became a defensive one. Chutian thought about it. A year later, a man named Conte will set off a renaissance in European football. With the extremely inclusive 3 centre-back system, it has beaten a circle of the traditional 3 centre-back system of Europe's top giants. Anti-reaction. Conte's 3 centre-back system, anti-rebound, pressure, possession. The original timeline of the U-shaped out-of-ball network. Enrique's 3 centre-back system, the ball was broken in front of the field. The opposite wings fly together. Barca scored. MSN pulls it back again. Now Enrique's 3 centre-back system, pass the ball to Chutian. The rest is left to Chutian. Enrique's eyes glowed. Chutian. We are making Barcelona history. Chutian thought about it and patiently explained to Enrique the 3 centre-back system that had been perfected by Emperor Kong in the future. Of course, many details he did not remember very well. Some of them also added their own subjective speculations. Enrique's eyes glowed. Pull out pens and small notebooks and record like crazy. An hour later, the Barca boss muttered, Chutian. You are a genius. You are a natural master tactician. Enrique was taught too hard by his previous failed coaching experience. He's not a bad guy at all, just too much to cherish this coaching opportunity at Barca and work hard to make reforms. He is a weak head coach. Don't dare to speak up for Chutian. Don't dare to compete with Barca's top brass. He feared losing his coaching opportunity again. The shadow of the failure to coach Rome is too painful. But Enrique is a very complicated person. He knows in his heart that the reason why Barca can create a winning streak myth this season is that Chutian has done a great job. The draw ceremony for the quarter-finals of the Champions League is set at UEFA headquarters, the town of Nyon in the sugar country. In 2015, there was no airport there. Chutian could only land with Enrique and Roberto at Geneva Airport. Journalists flocked to the scene. Enrique was emboldened and did not answer any questions from the reporter. Instead, he praised, "Chutian's understanding of football is particularly deep. He came up with a true 3-center-back tactical system idea. I learned a lot." The reporters were dumbfounded. The Barca boss's remarks are very unusual. Chutian has basically made public his attitude that he will not renew his contract with Barca. Why did Enrique still have such a high opinion of Chutian? The reporters had not taken a picture of Enrique talking to Chutian for more than 2 months. Robert was also helpless. The representative of the Barca players who participated in the draw ceremony would not have been Chutian. But Cruyff and other celebrities have strongly stated that even if Chutian leaves Barca, the club should treat the meritorious players with dignity. The relevant departments of the club have even conceived in advance the departure ceremony of the Yengua teenager. Since there is no way to retain the genius of Yengua, Barca's top brass decided to show their generosity. They are a big club with a human touch. After an hour-and-a-half drive, the Barca trio arrived in the town of Nyon. Through the car window, Chutian was not very interested in these buildings. Enrique muttered, "It's as beautiful as a gentle fairy tale." Robert pointed to an ancient castle in the distance. "Lord Nyon loves to stand on the balcony and watch the serfs work. There's the guillotine. This is the shooting range. See the black mark on that stone platform? Hundreds of years of blood. Not clean." Enrique immediately narrowed his smile. Moments later, the three arrived at UEFA headquarters. Immediately, a staff member led the three people into the venue. Enrique and Robert went to the club's representative bench. Chutian looked around the entire venue. The size of the headquarters is incomparable with the last Grenadier Conference Center. The size of the venue is smaller, only more than 800 square meters. The main stage has been placed with a silver shimmering Champions League trophy. "Yengua boy, you will definitely break my record of eating a buffet at the Champions League draw ceremony." Buffon patted Chutian's shoulder and laughed. "Don't be stupid and stand here. Come with me." He took Chutian to find his seat with ease. Very coincidental. According to the seat number, Chutian was sitting between C. Luo and Buffon again. C. Luo looked in a good mood today, wearing a burgundy suit, smiled at Chutian, and held out his hand. The exciting Champions League theme song came to an abrupt halt. The background panel of the main stage lit up the Champions League logo. MC Pedro Pinto stepped onto the stage. Speaking in a strong French accent, he hurriedly finished a set of scenes. Buffon furrowed his brows. "I can't hear what this Pinto boy is saying every time. He has presided over so many Champions League ceremonies, and he still can't speak well." The lights dimmed. The UEFA staff ran onto the main stage and busied themselves with the setting. When the lights come on again, holding a small transparent glass fish tank, India gracefully walked up to the glass fish tank on the main stage, containing 8 small glass balls. Buffon raised his elbow, stabbed Chutian twice, and whispered, "The last time you went so fast, it turned out that you were secretly meeting your girlfriend." Chutian smiled helplessly, not knowing how to explain it to this big brother. Buffon sighed, "I saw it in the newspaper. You joined Chelsea for her." Serie Media, a gathering place for European star gossip. Chutian smiled and shook his head. "I'm not familiar with her." Buffon hesitated for a moment and whispered, "Actually, the eldest daughter of the Agnelli family is also your fan." Chutian cried and laughed. "The owner of Juventus is none other than the Agnelli family." India lowered the small glass fish tank and turned to leave the court, her eyes scanning back and forth in the player's seat. When the Yengua teenager was found, the joy on her face was palpable. It made the stars laugh. The president of the UEFA competition department, Marchetti, led 2 guests to the stage. The audience immediately erupted into warm applause. The 2 guests are Xavi, Pirlo, 2 legendary midfield masters. Meanwhile, the fans who watched the live broadcast were also very excited. Last time it was Kaká and Henry. This time it's Xavi and Pirlo. UEFA will really invite people this year. My youth, Xavi and Pirlo are so old. Watching the ball late, is Xavi strong or Pirlo strong? Xavi is great. Pirlo is great. The venue is not large. While Marchetti was talking, both Xavi and Pirlo's eyes were on Chutian's body. The eyes of the two were full of appreciation. Buffon smiled. "Chutian, whose successor are you?" "Last time Xavi and Pirlo argued for 15 minutes and said you were their successor." A long time later, Marchetti finally finished speaking. The representatives of the various clubs began to have solemn expressions. Pirlo walked over to the small fish tank. "I hope the first to draw out is Juventus." He held out his hand. "Pick up the small ball." Break. Point the note at the camera, Juventus. The audience applauded. Juventus coach Allegri's expression became more and more solemn. Pirlo smiled. Who will its opponent be? He picked up the second ball. Break. Atletico Madrid. The corners of Simone's mouth twitched. The barrage of the live broadcast room flew up. Do you still need to watch the game between these two teams? Playing for 3 days and 3 nights is 0:0. These two teams are the most unlucky teams. How many times have you reached the finals lost? The loss was quite bizarre. Champions League runner-up in 13-14 versus Champions League runner-up in 14-15 season. Episode 144. Abu is confused. Should he be happy or unhappy? Glee Munza pouted. In last season's Champions League group stage, Atletico and Juventus are in the same group. Chiellini and Buffon, but he suffered a lot. What a tough opponent. After the laughter in the venue subsided, Pirlo lifted a small ball. Break. Expand the note. Real Madrid. Zidane's expression was dignified. The corners of C. Luo's mouth hooked, and he looked excitedly at Chutian beside him. Enrique secretly clenched his fists. He didn't want the opponent to be Real Madrid. Pirlo picked up the second ball. The fans in front of the TV were also thrilled. Pirlo, you're pumping Barcelona. The last national derby has not seen the addiction. The atmosphere in the venue was somewhat tense. Benfica. The second matchup was out. Real Madrid versus Benfica. There was applause from the audience. Real Madrid boss Zidane almost stood up in excitement. Confident, as if the team has advanced to the semi-finals. C. Luo retracted his gaze at Chutian, and his face returned to coldness. Benfica coach Vittoria had a calm face. Astound? Is shock useful? The paper strength of the Champions League quarter-finals. Who does Benfica play differently? Benfica's fat coach looks stupid. I must have panicked. People are numb. Going to the quarter-finals, who does Benfica play differently? Don't underestimate Benfica's fat coach. He is the coach with the highest winning percentage in Benfica's history, and he is especially good at helping the club make money. The first few gold-sucking managers on the leaderboard forgot. If you look at the appearance of the coach, Real Madrid has a stable promotion. The results of the remaining 4 teams against each other have not yet come out. Pirlo took 2 steps back. Give the stage to Harvey. Of course I want to get Barcelona. Harvey smiled and held up a small football. Break. Unfold the note and pointed at the camera. Chelsea. There are 3 teams under me. Barca, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. Draw Bayern. I haven't seen the Battle of Guamu for a long time. What was the Battle of Guamu? Guardiola versus Mourinho. Barca versus Real Madrid that year. Barca versus Inter are the most watched matches. In 2008, Barca reselected the manager, and only 2 people entered the final list, Guardiola and Mourinho. The football philosophy of the 2 of them is 2 extremes. There are only 3 small balls left in the small glass fish tank. Harvey dug in. Take out 1. Unfold. Barcelona. The third result of the match, Chelsea against Barca. There was an uproar. These 2 clubs have had a lot of unpleasant pasts. But now, everyone will look at the Yengwa teenager in the player's seat. Mourinho laughed. Robert and Enrique's faces were gloomy. Buffon patted Chutian's shoulder and laughed. Have you seen the news? Chutian is likely to join Chelsea. Laughed to death. Chelsea and Barca. Fans on both sides still can't tear it up. Chutian scored. Barca fans rejoice when they cheer, and Chelsea fans rejoice when they sigh. Chelsea are very strong now, and Barca are just relying on Chutian and Messi. The victory or defeat of this game is not easy to say. If Barca's main force is completely healed from injury, it is not easy to play. Actually, I would like to see Chelsea play Real Madrid. I haven't seen Diego Costa and Ramos, Pepe's dirty for a long time. There is no suspense in the final showdown. Bayern Munich versus Manchester City. Harvey symbolically breaks a ball. After all, the home and away order still has to be divided. UEFA rules, the first team in small football will play at home in the first leg. The results of the Champions League quarter-finals are all out. Juventus versus Atletico Madrid. Real Madrid versus Benfica. Chelsea versus Barca, Bayern Munich versus Manchester City. The drawing ceremony ends. Buffon led Chutian to eat at the first moment. The size of UEFA headquarters is small. Enrique was interviewed by reporters not far away. Mr. Enrique, I'm a reporter for the Daily Mail, and Barca will be heading to Stamford Bridge in the first leg of the Champions League quarter-finals. Do you have anything to say? The Barca boss has a serious expression and narrows his smile. Chelsea are very strong. Mourinho is very familiar with Barca. It will be a very tough battle. Barca will definitely be able to beat Chelsea. Another reporter asked, Mr. Enrique, there are rumors that Barca midfield talent Chutian will join Chelsea. What do you think about this? Enrique's face darkened. Robert pushed him twice. Enrique said slowly, Chutian has done a lot for Barca. His contribution to Barca is very big. Barca is the most humane club. We respect his choice. We will cherish every day he stays at Barca. The media reporters burst into a round of applause. The other side, Mourinho is also surrounded by journalists. He calmly responded to reporters' questions. You're going to use this place as an early pre-match launch? How ridiculous. Against Barca? Who will be the referee? I care more about law enforcement. My players will definitely help him become a good referee. Enrique? You shouldn't compare him to me. Chutian is unique. Joining Chelsea? I don't know about it. How there are no reports that he will join Bayern. Chutian is a very troublesome opponent. Stamford Bridge. Abu scratched his head with a worried look on his face and said, if Chutian scores, should I be happy? Or should I be unhappy? Tenenbaum said seriously, you should be in front of the camera and pretend to be unhappy. Steven said, boss, you should be happy because we will eliminate Chutian. He could have joined Chelsea sooner. Abu suddenly realized and couldn't help but give a thumbs up to the assistant coach. The film crew of CTV5 channel also entered West London, Stamford Bridge Stadium. This magnificent Chelsea home stadium is just outside a metro entrance. Duan took the photographer and began to interview the Blues fans who passed by. He felt that the interview should be smoother this time, because West London was densely populated with powerful people, rich residents, and particularly idle. We believe the report that Chutian joined Chelsea will be true. We hate Barcelona. We loved Chutian. We hope that in this game, UEFA will send a normal referee. What if Tom Hennon is allowed to enforce the law again? Then he must not leave Stamford Bridge alive. Do you remember the Stamford Bridge massacre? Super Iniesta and referee Tom Herning teamed up to bring Barca to the final. It's a black curtain. Barca at that time, playing beautiful football, but doing very ugly and dirty things. They fought for Chelsea's ball with a lot of deliberate hand movements and kicking heels. Cover your face and cheat the red and yellow card as soon as you touch it. Several Chelsea fans became angrier and more angry, and their faces were flushed. Clench your fists. Duan hurriedly left with the photographer. The Stamford Bridge massacre passed not long ago. Chelsea fans remember that farce led by the Black Whistle. In their minds, Barca in that game is like the baseball national team in the 2002 World Cup. The on-duty referee, Tom Herning, was later threatened with death. Duan and the photographer came to Chelsea Village. There are also a lot of Chelsea fans gathered here. Fans saw Duan greeting him. Duan hurriedly began the interview. Chutian should come to Chelsea. He followed Busquets and Iniesta at Barca. He will learn badly. Shevchenko came to Chelsea that year, but like the emperor arrived. Concert. Fashion show. New film launch. Nightclub. He's everywhere. Chutian is different. The paparazzi media can only take photos of him training hard. Chutian will be 10,000 times stronger than Shevchenko under Chelsea, and he will help us win the title soon. We like Chutian very much and hope he will come to Stamford Bridge soon. If he breaks the Chelsea goal, we'll applaud him too. Because he was a Chelsea star in the near future. CTV5 Live Room. The news that Chutian joined Chelsea, the more I watched it, the more it looked like the real thing. Nephew, Chelsea fans' happiness troubles. Chutian scored or did not score. Why do these Chelsea fans look so Buddhist? Or the Liverpool and Watford fans look more hot-blooded? You also don't look at Chelsea's domestic fan forum. These years of heavy transfer reinforcements, they are all like water. Ha ha ha. Abu is accustomed to all the honors and all the championships in the past 3 years have been won, and naturally it is Buddhist. Episode 145, Flying Immortals Outside the Sky? The most exciting lottery was born. Chutian returned to the first team dormitory. The system prompt sounded quietly. Ding. Host remaining match points, 66. Please open the super draw as soon as possible. Chutian was slightly stunned. I didn't pay attention during this time, and I accumulated so many match points. The super draw costs 30 match points at a time. Take a look. Super draw. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Outer Flying Immortal module. Celestial Flying Immortal module, 100% goal. Additional usage restrictions. Can only be used once a month. Chu Tianho's head was slightly numb. The module has been fused with the body. Flying Immortals? 100% goals. For a moment, Chu Tian found that he could not describe the strength of that ball in words. It was the 2001/2002 Champions League final, in which Zidane defeated Bayer Leverkusen. The goal of the century. Even Zidane himself said, this kind of goal is only once in a lifetime. I tried to reproduce, but couldn't. This ball, which was destined to happen that night, in the Champions League final, could not be explained by common sense. A ball that cannot be explained by common sense. So powerful that even the system has to add a usage limit to it. Chu Tian opened the properties panel. Offense 72, possession 90, passes 93, shot 74, header 64, set pieces 70, arc ball 93, speed 90, foot strength 75, jump 41, body contact 90, stamina 90, defense 60, steals 66, goal 20, remaining free allocation attribute 93 points. He hadn't looked at his panel in a long time. Chu Tian thought for a moment that facing Chelsea, there should be no chance to shoot with Batistuta heavy artillery. The leg swing is too big, but when I don't use my skills to shoot, there is no accurate head, and if I can't pass 507 balls and arcs, I have already exceeded 90 points. and I can't use attribute points to improve. Thereupon, he started adding dots, shots, 90, foot strength, 90. Next, first team training base. Enrique excitedly held a thick stack of white paper and found Chutian. Chutian. I know how the 3 center-backs you talked about on the plane are integrated with Barca's existing personnel. Wensu shrugged, Coach, you have to carry out tactical reform yourself, and it has nothing to do with Chutian. Chutian took a look at the white paper and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Enrique is still very real. In just a short time, you can figure out Conte's 3 center-back system. Or under the premise that I don't understand it very clearly. Enrique became more and more excited. This is a tactical change in the new era. The impact of the 3 center-back system is no less than the tactical philosophy of Mourinho, Guardiola, and Ancelotti. Chutian smiled helplessly. This is the football philosophy that Conte integrated in 2016, and it has been continuously improved in actual combat, winning several championships, and finally a new concept that is still being improved in 2022. But Chutian believed that Enrique would not steal the limelight from Conte. For the current Barca, the 3 center-back system has not improved much in attack. It can only make up for the shortcomings of the instability of the rear defense. In the past life, Barca in the Enrique era, since 2015, the defensive problem is very serious, precarious, anyone can break the Barca goal, and finally rely on MSN to equalize the lead. Moments later, Enrique patiently explained the 3 center-back system to the players, and let Wensu immediately start a group match. Chutian was taken to the sideline by Enrique to watch the game. The game begins. Matthew, Mascherano, and Peak make up Team B's 3 center-backs. In the midfield is a group of substitutes such as Roberto. Team A's front line is MSN. The midfielders are Iniesta, Busquets, Rafinha. The backline was paired by several substitute players. During the game, Enrique kept holding the book and asking Chutian. Immediately afterwards, the command and dispatch of the field was carried out. Soon, Messi realized something was wrong. Team B's 3 center-back system, with the cooperation of Roberto and others, is not only difficult to break, but also the aggression between attack and defense conversion is also particularly strong. He was slightly distracted. The ball was shoved out of bounds by Mascherano. All the players looked to the sidelines. Find Enrique, frantically asking Chutian for advice. What's going on? Chutian is a master tactician? Followed by, Chutian put on the best of Team B and played. The game continues. The more Messi kicked, the more he felt something was wrong. Team B's 3 center-back system incorporates La Masia's passing control. Pass control is their defense. The aggressiveness between attack and defense transitions, with the blessing of smooth transmission and control, has become more one-way and four-way. Iniesta was also surprised. In fact, the pass control of the 3 center-back system, the peak of Barca during the Guardiola period, has been experimented in several games, but before it was fully perfected, Guardiola completed the feat of 6 crowns. Left Barca. 20 minutes later, Wensu ended training early. Enrique confidently announced to everyone, "We are on the basis of not abandoning La Masia's pass." Perfected the 3 center-back system. Chutian thought about it. Without changing the defensive system, Chelsea's Hazard can play through the Barca backline. Stamford Bridge, Chelsea training base. Goalkeeper Courtois, doing a warm-up. Terry stepped forward and reminded, Chutian's long-range shot is very strong. Even if our backline position is good, he will still find the angle of the shot. Courtois smiled confidently. I know, the coaching staff showed me his profile. Chutian's usual foot is his right foot. What is it called? Batistuta heavy artillery firing? Left-footed shots also like to curl up inside the instep, but the ball is too slow. Oblak, Navas, Cech are all old, they are too slow to react. I've never been afraid of this kind of long-range shooting. Barca's MSN, I'm not afraid. In the year I went on loan to Majing, I already played against Messi. He only broke through the goal I was guarding once. Terry frowned. Courtois is a super talented goalkeeper, and at just 23 years old, he has already won many championship trophies. Last season, Chelsea conceded the fewest goals in the top 5 leagues. The Premier League winner, who has only lost 3 league games. All this is entirely thanks to Courtois' personal ability, but Chutian was different. As the captain of the Predator Blues, Terry knows Chutian's threat to the back line. At this time, Diego Costa came over. Relieved, Captain, don't think too much. The last time you played Paris Saint-Germain, you were also worried about Ibrahimovic. Barca's backline is worse than Paris Saint-Germain. I'll let them know this is Stamford Bridge. Hazard wondered, Costa, haven't you been suspended for a red card? Diego Costa looked dazed and slapped his head hard. Fark. I forgot about it. Damn Ibrahimovic. In the round of 16, he clashed with Ibrahimovic for stepping on Adani and received a red card. According to UEFA regulations, he could not play Mourinho in the first leg against Barca with a calm expression. I am communicating with the coaching team in a serious way about tactical arrangements. Steven suddenly said, Coach, I suggest Remy take Costa's place. Mourinho shook his head. Don't forget our new signings in the winter transfer period. Cantor, Stephen exclaimed, let a back kick forward. The crowd was silent. The atmosphere froze for a moment. Mourinho was rarely angry, and he said slowly, this time, we have double backs, Matic partner Kanté. The match day for the Champions League quarter-finals is coming soon. Chelsea vs Barca, it's a much-anticipated game. City of London, Stamford Bridge Stadium, a sea of people. As far as the eye can see, it is a blue ocean. The fans have Chelsea's emblem on their faces, and a Chelsea flag. Many fans are standing on the street drinking beer. Because of the 1985 rules, you can't drink until the Premier League starts 15 minutes. This provision is enforced at home in the Premier League and European matches, just as it is. Suddenly, 3 blue buses slowly appeared in the sight of everyone. Chelsea fans cheered wildly. They gathered on both sides of the street. KTBFFH, 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 CTV5 live room, bullet screen flying, KTBFFH. Why do I think there are more Chelsea fans than Barca fans in Yenwa? What does this slogan mean? Keep the blue flag flying high. Let the blue flag fly forever. Same as Liverpool Inwa, Chelsea. Come on, UEFA's 1/4 of this year's schedule is set up really well. 1 game a day. Neutral fans say they can cool for 4 consecutive days. Not far to the south of the course, Western Park, countless tourists from Yenwa and students from Yenwa in Britain have also gathered here. They wore Barca shirts and held aloft posters of Chutian. All eyes were on the end of the street. Because Barcelona's bus is coming. Episode 146. Crazy hedging. The Battle of Chelsea, Barca buses. Iniesta said, Chutian, Chelsea is dirty, you have to pay attention. Don't let yourself get hurt. Chutian was slightly stunned. In 2015, including the past 2 seasons, Chelsea's defender combination and back Matic were the cleanest defensive team in Europe to steal, the fewest fouls and the fewest yellow cards. Roberto tilted his head and said, last season, Chelsea's centre-backs Terry and Cahill only took 2 yellow cards, and the Premier League media blew for a long time. When Sue reminded, Diego Costa was banned from the red card. In this game, if we let Fabregas also receive a yellow card, then he will also be suspended for accumulating yellow cards in the second leg. Chutian suddenly realized. It turned out in Iniesta to be careful of their midfielders. Last season, Diego Costa and Fabregas, the 2 men combined, 22 yellow cards and 3 red cards. The number of cards won is more than the average player plays for a few years. Roberto was astonished. Diego Costa. He received more red and yellow cards in a season than Pirlo had in his lifetime. The crowd laughed. When Sue laughed, Fabregas. Messi thought for a moment and said, Fabregas is not the kind of player who has a lot of small moves. He must be because of the tactical position. He will often win the card. When he is at Barca, it will not be like this. Fabregas was his best partner in La Masia. The bus soon arrived at Stamford Bridge. The noise on both sides of the street grew louder. The long-awaited Barca fans shouted wildly, Chutian, Messi, Vamos Barca. Chutian also heard many Yenwa fans shouting his name with Chinese. Moments later, pre-match press conference. Mourinho walked into the venue. Enrique looked up at him. The 2 managers of Barca and Chelsea, they are good friends. When Enrique was a player, Mourinho was Barca's assistant coach. The old manager Robson was old and Mourinho was already in charge of the tactical command of some of Barca's matches. I still remember that precious old picture of Barcelona, Mourinho with his hands in his pockets, expressionless. Guardiola on the left looks down and smiles. Enrique on the right tightens his lips and looks into the distance. Duan Xian smiled at the camera. There was no greeting between the 2 managers. Reporters began to cover. Mr. Mourinho, you played against Barca a dozen times in your coaching career. What impression did Enrique's Barcelona leave on you this time? Mourinho sat down, unscrewed a bottle of mineral water and said, as of this year, it seems to be 19 times or 23 times? I can't remember exactly. I lost 8 games against Barca. Enrique is a very good player and a very mediocre coach. His brain has always been very unintelligible. Against Bilbao in '96, I let him play in the back position, but he thought of himself as a striker for the entire 45 minutes of the first half. The reporters rejoiced. Mourinho and Ferguson are the favorite coaches of the Premier League media. There is no need to use the problem to set up. They will be crazy to pull hatred themselves. The Chelsea boss is loud. Enrique on the other side also heard it. Reporters rushed to hit the iron while it was hot. Mr. Enrique, how do you see Mourinho's evaluation of you? Is what he says true? Enrique also did not care about the demeanor, said, I will not be affected in any way. Mourinho is very good at provoking the other party in this way. He seems crazy, but in fact he is not strong. In the '96 season, he and the Bilbao boss are going to fight, where I and Guardiola will stand up for him. The reporters laughed. Enrique had a serious expression. Chelsea's defense is strong. But Barca will eliminate Chelsea. Barcelona's goal. Be the Champions League winner. Player channel. Players from both sides are ready to enter. Fabregas is chatting with his former Barca teammates. Chutian glanced at Chelsea's squad of players. Terry. Cahill. Ivanovic, Hazard, Courtois. Chutian was slightly surprised. The Chelsea small goal god in this period was already a complete top goal god and had won countless honors. He and Manchester United's goalkeeper De Gea are called the ultimate double of goalkeepers, but he will grow even faster in the coming years. In 2022, Courtois at Real Madrid became the new generation of super goalkeeper. Stamford Bridge Stadium. The surrounding radio loops with an exciting Champions League theme song. A sea of blue in the stands, led by the referee team. Players from both sides walked out of the player aisle. This moment, over the whole of West London. Boiling up, KTBFFH, KTBFFH, KTBFFH. When Chutian stepped onto the green field, many Chelsea fans also cheered, CTV5, CTV5. Good evening, audience friends. Welcome to the Champions League quarterfinals. Chelsea at home against Barca. It's a matchday of the quarterfinals. It's an all-Europe show. The world's most watched game, La Liga versus the top level of the Premier League. I'm the commentator of this competition, Duan Xian. I am He Wei. Here's a look at the starting lineups of both teams. The formation on the Chelsea side is 4-2-3-1. Goalkeeper, Courtois. Defenders, Ivanovic, Cahill, Terry, Azpilicueta. Double backs, Nemanja Matic, Cantor. Midfielders, Hazard, Oscar, Fabregas. Forward, Remy. Live room. Yenghua fans are a bit puzzled by Chelsea's squad. Diego Costa is suspended, and he can't go on Remy. Remy's level, can't play in the Premier League. He is at the level of Wen Lei in the Chinese Super League. Who is Cantor? Why didn't you put Fabregas in the back position? Drag Fabregas to the fourth position to exert its power. He is Harvey's successor. That Cantor is so short and not strong. Can it stop Barca's attack? Barca's side is still discharged. 3-4-3 formation. Goalkeeper, Ter Stegen. Defenders, Peak, Mascherano, Matthew. Midfielders, Alba, Busquets, Iniesta, Chutian. Forwards, Nasheo, Suarez, Messi. The commentary was almost mispronounced. Haha. The three centre-back system seems to be a trend, and many clubs are trying it. In fact, I think it would be better for the midfielder to replace Alba with Rakitic, who is still very strong. Alba against Eden Hazard, can't replace Rakitic. The referee blew the whistle. The race is on. Cheers from the Stamford Bridge stands boiled even more. Suarez, tee off. Back to Chutian. Remy immediately rushed up. Chutian slammed the ball. Easily dodged the Chelsea striker. Passed the ball to Busquets. Busquets touched the ball with one kick. The football crossed Oscar's and came to Insta's feet. The midfielders on both sides began to hang. Nemanja Matic immediately rushed over. He is now the Premier League's best back. Known as by Yaya. In 2015, he and Yaya Touré, Busquets, and called the world's three biggest backs. Iniesta was not afraid, his wounds had healed. The inside of the right foot gently pushes the ball forward to the left. Can dodged Nemanja Matic's foot. Put the ball a little more with your left foot. The whole person was wiped from the side of Chelsea's back waist. Croquettes. Iniesta's signature move. Iniesta without injuries. Too strong. He got rid of Nemanja Matic. Chutian has run to Chelsea's ribs at half. Iniesta didn't have to observe and handed out a diagonal pass. The ball is fast. Have a little black shadow in blue faster. Football is out of bounds. Everyone was stunned. The new youngster who moved to Chelsea actually ruined Iniesta's pass. His name is Cantor. It was in the winter window, joining Chelsea from Leicester City. Iniesta was also shocked. How can a man be faster than a ball? Chutian hurriedly signaled to Iniesta, don't take it to heart. From God's perspective, Kanté prejudged Iniesta's passing line and made an interception in advance. It's normal for Kanté to have this level, because he is probably the strongest sweeping midfielder in the history of football. Destructive type back. Even the authors of brainless novels dare not write the kind of strong. Courtside. Enrique's brow furrowed. He didn't get Cantor's profile before the game. The Barca coaching staff didn't take the little black guys to heart at all. In the winter window, after Kanté joined Chelsea, he has also been on the bench. The other side, Mourinho smiled and immediately made a retreat gesture to the players on the pitch. Episode 147. The Cage Trap. Chelsea's counter-attack storm. Contrary to personality, Mourinho's command gestures on the sidelines were very concise, and he rarely even raised his hands. Guardiola's command gestures were dazzling, and Levon said in an interview, he couldn't understand Guardiola's gestures. When Alba sends the ball out of bounds, the Chelsea players have begun to retreat. Chutian stopped the ball. From God's perspective, Chelsea's formation gradually shrank back. Only Remy was left in their front court to start running back and forth. Chutian began to control the rhythm of the game. Barca gradually began to press forward. Football at Chelsea's half drew a beautiful line. Chutian and Barca teammates kept running for passing. Chelsea's formation has steadily retreated. In the end, it was pressed into the forbidden area. Cantor tried to attack, but was waved by Nemanja Matic not to come forward. Barca start lay siege to Chelsea. Chutian seemed to be transformed into a commander. He kept running sideways. Every time you catch the ball, it pulls the tightness of Chelsea's backline. Every pass guides his teammates to test the vertical depth of Chelsea's backline. Football is like a mischievous elf, frolicking back and forth in front of Chelsea's penalty area. Barca's midfield pass is really pleasing to the eye. Chelsea have completely conceded the ball. Chutian is in complete control of the race. His running and passing are too wonderful and gorgeous. Stands. Chelsea's home fans, watching Chutian's brilliant performance, were also excited. Genius of Yengwa. His pass was so beautiful. He can always be in the right place, dashing freehand. He's like an artist. How I wish the rumors of him joining Chelsea were true. Time passes minute by minute. Barca are actually not as advantageous as they seem from the outside. From God's perspective, Chutian could not find any flaws in Chelsea's backline. No matter how tempting, how to pull, Chelsea's backline was unmoved, and their players were like a tight hole, firmly sealing their own doors. This was a defensive system that Chutian had never seen before. The spacing of each player is not short, but it just makes him unable to catch the gap. Chelsea's pushback was not fierce, except for the tireless Remy, who only symbolically stretched his feet. The line of defense seemed to be disrupted. Hazard and Oscar retreated even deeper than Kanté. Chutian couldn't understand. He really couldn't understand what this backline was. Beyond his comprehension. Mourinho is even more powerful than expected. During this time, Barca's attacking passing is beautiful, but there is no chance. Even if the ball goes to Messi's feet and Messi breaks through Azpilicueta and Terry, the ball will be destroyed. Mourinho is so familiar with Messi's characteristics. He has appeared in a feature film, Cage Tactics, which talks about how to prevent Messi. When he was in charge of Inter Milan, he completely dumbed Messi at a young age. The scene is a bit dull. When the peak Harvey and the peak Dream 3, there is no way to take Mourinho's bus. He's the first person to beat Pinnacle Pass, courtside. Enrique's brow furrowed. Even at the peak of Xavi, he couldn't do anything about the defense that Mourinho had built. When Suarez said, "The game time is still very long, and we believe that Chutian will find the opportunity." 20 minutes of the game, Chutian received the ball. Mourinho made a gesture on the pitch. Nemanja Matic understood. He deliberately stepped forward and lost his foot. Chutian plucked the ball and turned to get rid of it. Pass the ball to Iniesta. An instant, Iniesta found a gap in Chelsea's backline. It's finally here. He sent a straight kick. The line of football is like a sharp blade. Tear apart Chelsea's entire backline. Iniesta did not get much obstruction, and entered the left side of the penalty area. Caught the ball. Beautiful. Iniesta's exquisite straight plug. Like a scalpel. It's wonderful. Chutian secretly said badly, fooled. Uchiha is preparing to shoot with his feet, but I found that there was no shooting angle at all. There is no passing space to cause a second attack. Ivanovic. Cahill. Courtois. Oscar. Envelop Samba genius like a cage. What a defense this is. It's too fast. Nei Xiaozhou raised an eyebrow. Did they deliberately let me in? Samba genius, trying to get rid of the passer head. Unfortunately, the players in Chelsea's backline, in 2015, are the top few in the world. Bang! Cahill broke the ball. The whole Chelsea formation is starting to move. Mourinho laughed too. Fight back. Chelsea's counterattack storm is coming. Diego Costa is not there. Who are they going to find for their counterattack? The momentum of the Chelsea players. It's like a raging wave. The Chelsea players are running wildly. The Barca players also quickly retreated. Cahill passed the ball to Fabregas. Who is Fabregas? It is the most orthodox forward position in La Masia. It is the future of Barca, who has been played by the ball since childhood. Is a recognized successor to Guardiola, a super genius who debuted at the age of 17 and was at the peak. He stopped the ball, dashing away from Suarez's persecution. Get up on your side. The instep of the outer foot is smoked in the bottom right of the football. 1 foot long pass. Football is like a rainbow. Sketch a beautiful arc over Stamford Bridge. Groove. This pass. How it looked exactly like Chutian. Luck is out. That's awesome. How not to go back to Barcelona. Back to Barcelona. Harvey was at his peak. Barca can only use Fabregas as a shadow forward. Why are you typing so fast? A blue figure appeared on the left side of Barca's half. Hazard. Fabregas' pass was comfortable. Chelsea's number 10 receiver began to run. Ugh. What's going on? Why is Hazard so slow to start this stop ball? Is he injured? Peak and Matthew are back. Hazard is going to lose this ball. Hazard? Slow? This Chelsea number 10's ass is really big. How do I play football? So slow. How to be Chelsea's counterattack point. Mourinho should buy Walcott. You don't know he's Eden Hazard? Peak and Nemanja Matic go crazy, quickly caught up with Hazard. Peak inserts the card slot from the outside. Matthew pushes his feet from the side. Enrique breathed a sigh of relief. Mourinho smiled more confidently. The next moment, a magical scene has appeared. Hazard used the most common getaway moves in the boot camp. The whole person and the ball stop. Peak and Matthew are carried by inertia and can't stop immediately. Hazard showed true speed, direct start. Kill to the forbidden zone. Why was he able to get rid of two people with such a simple move? This is Hazard's real speed. He lied to everyone. This big ass number 10 is too bull. Hazard was last season's Premier King. The king of the balls is awesome. Unique. Messi is the real king. What Hazard had never heard of. He's so good. How come he can't come to Barcelona to play football? Why don't you go to Real Madrid? Stop typing. Hazard is going to score. Azar is very fast, quickly with the ball into the front of the box. Ter Stegen rushed forward, arching his back and opening his hands to prepare for the save. Adjust your position in small steps. Keep pressing. Trying to block Hazard's shot angle, Mascherano also caught up. Hazard's shoulder sank. Leaning forward in the first half. Shift the center of gravity. Ter Stegen was directly shaken down. Chelsea number 10 will pick the ball on one side. The ball drilled out of Ter Stegen's knee. Jumped 12 yards in front of Barca's door. The audience exclaimed, "Empty door, empty door." Ter Stegen is quick to return to defense. Ter Stegen crawled towards the football with a rolling belt. A small dirty braided Remy touched the ball ahead of time. Remy, he's facing the empty door. Shoot fast. Remy, what are you doing? Enrique's heart giggles. The hearts of Chelsea fans giggled a little too. Remy is a super big parallel cargo. Mourinho gave him a chance to start 10 games. No matter how Azar and Fabregas feed the pie, he can't kick a single ball. Bang, Remy fired a big kick. Boom, the ball hit the upright. The Chelsea fans in the stands let out a huge sigh. The next moment, the ball bounced into the goal. 1-0, drift. Nice passing, Chelsea have the lead. Fabregas launched a counterattack with a long pass. Hazard, long run. Remy completed the fatal blow. Chelsea were besieged by Barca for more than 20 minutes. Finally got a chance to fight back. Chelsea's ability to grasp the opportunity to counterattack is very strong. Remy threw a little dirty braid, quickly rushed to the stands, slipping against the turf and starting to slip to your knees. Put your hands to your ears and listen to the cheers of the fans. Remy is learning Henry's way of scoring. For more than half a year, I threw up so many cakes, and I scored a ball. It's not easy. Cold knowledge, Remy was once known as Henry's successor. On the side of the pitch, Mourinho looked at the back of the Yengwa teenager. This is your future teammate. This is the team you want to join in the future. Episode 148. Mourinho's Terror Command. Desperate Chelsea, VIP box stands. Snap. Abu applauded excitedly. Laughing, he said, "I said that Remy, this boy bought it right." Mourinho is also firmly opposed. Look. Remy scored. I can't go wrong with my vision. Remy is so much like Henry. The celebratory pose is more like Henry. Remy is so cheap and great value. Only €1,000,000 come. After this game, Chelsea will give him a bonus for scoring goals. Tenenbaum looked embarrassed and helpless. Boss, you don't know how much Remy has. For most of the season, Fabregas and Hazard couldn't feed it. Abu laughed and said, guess what Chutian's mood is now? Ha ha ha. If we take Barcelona out, he could have joined Chelsea sooner. Tenenbaum nodded in agreement. Remy, who has only scored 1 goal in half a year, for a long time, he did not want to leave the stands. Crazy to the fans, rushing to the camera, doing various gestures of celebration. I am Henry's successor. My ball protector is like Henry. My shot is like Henry's. The referee urged him to hurry back to the court. Even Chelsea fans are pushing him. Courtside, Enrique had a sad look on his face. After being led by Chelsea, it is difficult to equalize. When Sue looked at Mourinho in the distance, and a familiar feeling came to mind. Chelsea's goal evokes memories of the Barca assistant coach, who had been dusty for many years. In the past, he was Barca's goalkeeper coach, following Guardiola in the north and watching Barca complete the 6 crowns. But in those years, he also witnessed Real Madrid, the two teams that can balance the pinnacle of Barca, Mourinho. Inter under Mourinho's coaching. The other side, Mourinho tapped Fabregas on the shoulder. Keep whispering. Fabregas nodded seriously. Both are from La Masia. In terms of football philosophy, many places are very similar. Iniesta and Nacheo, somewhat remorseful. Chutian thought about it. If he was in an Iniesta's position, Huaning would also make mistakes. This Chelsea cage tactic is terrible. The lap reopened during the race. The referee blew the whistle. Suarez kicked off. Back to Chutian. With Chelsea leading, Barca's next game will be tough. According to the statistics of the past year, the probability of Chelsea being equalized is 2.3%. Chelsea will definitely continue to defend. swing the bus. The formations of the two sides immediately dispersed. Chelsea did not retreat. Instead, it's a crazy rush in midfield again. Oscar is like a mad dog, tightly entangled with Busquets, trying to cut off Barca's backfield. Cantor is also running back and forth, with Neymar repeatedly ruined Barca's midfield pass. Chelsea are ahead of the defense without solidity. They launched a stranglehold in midfield again. It's a little different. This time Chelsea is taking a high position of oppression. Mourinho faced Barca and didn't want his men to be ruthless. In the opening 30 minutes, he has made 3 tactical changes. Enrique, what are you eating? Tether the crown. Hurry up and respond. What's going on? Barca have Chutian, have MSN, how can they be led by Chelsea? If you rely on your personal ability to score champions, why don't Messi and Ronaldo win the World Cup? How come Hazard and Fabregas, Oscar, these people's defensive interceptions are so fierce? Mourinho picks the striker. First look at the defense. Dog head to save life. Barca was in a state of flux. Chelsea have no players to force Chutian. But football is difficult to reach Chutian's feet. Kante's ability to sweep and destroy is world-class. Nemanja is the top 3 defensive backs in the world today. The two men spared no effort to run back and forth, like a door valve in the middle of Chelsea. Strangle Barca's pass from the middle. This is the first match day for the Champions League quarterfinals. The whole world is watching this game. Bayern Munich building. Guardiola furrowed his brows and said disapprovingly, Mourinho is teasing Barca. He is provoking Barca with different tactics, different ways. Provoke Enrique. At the lottery ceremony, Harvey's hand was too bad. Should have let me meet Mourinho. And Fabregas, who is a super genius of our La Masia. How could Mourinho be transformed into this? Fabregas played well. The assistant coach helplessly covered his forehead. Coach, we have to prepare for the pre-match meeting. Tomorrow we will play against Manchester City. Guardiola is worried. How can Barca beat this Chelsea team so easily now? Allianz Stadium in Turin. Juventus Club. Allegri stared at the screen intently. If the news of Chutian joining Chelsea is true, then we have to buy Fabregas. His game-reading ability and vision, and that long pass, are stronger than Verratti of Paris Saint-Germain. He can make up for Pirlo's absence in the Juventus system. Barca's 3 center-back system? It's different from Juventus's. Chutian is fantastic. In this chaotic situation, he can slowly sort out the midfield. But how will he beat this Chelsea team? Bernabeu training base. Real Madrid's first-team stars have finished a day of training. Zidane stared dead at the television. Next to him sat the sweaty Modric and Ronaldo. There was also Bell, who had changed into a golf shirt and was ready to go home. Zidane gave the conclusion, Chutian is difficult to reverse this time to win. Modric pondered and did not speak. Luo shook his head and said very rarely, I think that the Yengue boy will bring a very magical performance. Bell smiled brightly, I agree. Chutian is not the same. Stamford Field. Chutian was like walking on a tightrope. He runs desperately sideways, back and forth, reducing the pressure on his teammates. Messi also retreated to the middle of the road to begin to pick up. Cantor's interception and sweeping ability is too strong. He actively ran and spared no effort to fight. Let the transmission of the La Masian geniuses stagnate for a while. This short young player, the road to growth is full of bumps. Since childhood, he has been scavenging for a living, and his personality is inferior and shy. Because of malnutrition, he was rejected by many youth training. The 19-year-old Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have become the main players of the Giants. The 19-year-old Kante is still playing in the 9th amateur league of French football. Kante doesn't understand why Chelsea would sign him in the winter window. Champions League starter. This was something he would never have dreamed of a few months ago. Be sure to cherish this opportunity. Iniesta tried to advance with the ball. Cantor intercepted in front of him. This moment, it was as if the spotlight of the whole audience was gathered on this small black player. Iniesta started paddling. Cantor didn't let his creaks unfold. One kick breaks the ball. The audience erupted in applause. Clean and tidy steals. Chelsea's little back is so outstanding. He was able to break the ball from Iniesta's feet. Few people can interrupt Iniesta's croquettes. Chelsea's counter-attack storm. Not again. Kante handed the ball to Fabregas with one kick. He didn't even train with the first team, but he knew that it was right to give the ball to Fabregas. Hazard frantically plugged in on the right. Pique and Matthew are in hot pursuit. Fabregas handed out a straight kick. He's not a. On the right side of the fortress. It's the middle road. It's Oscar. Football rolls on the ground. Skim at high speed under the feet of Busquets and Alba. What a vision. What a pass. How can Chelsea have such a great character? Since I started chasing Chutian game, I have only known that these clubs in Europe are so strong. What did Barca do, and why did they let Fabregas go? He was still out of the La Masia academy. There is no suitable position for Fabregas. What is Barcelona doing? In terms of strength, shouldn't Chelsea be crushed? Oh, there is such an absolute thing. I will not lose millions of happy beans. I bought all the rest of the happy beans for Barcelona. Oscar sideways and takes the ball. turn around and rush to the Barca penalty area. In front of him, there is Mascherano. But Remy also killed. Oscar immediately handed out a diagonal pass. Mascherano turned to Remy. Remy stumbled and picked up the ball. At this time, we are at the forefront of the big forbidden area. Face the goalkeeper directly. Remy was hesitating about something. What a great opportunity. Or take a few steps. Or shoot it straight away. Remy panicked and adjusted her pace. Shoot with one kick. Soft and weak. Football is out of the box. The audience sighed. Oh, how did this ball come to be like this? Remy's archery skills need to be improved. Remy shook her head. Spit up. Raise your hand drum and clap twice. Thumbs up to Oaks. I think Remy is quite suitable for coming to the Chinese Super League. The action of this shot is exactly the same. It's so hard for Barca to play like this. How did Chutian reverse the equalizer this time? Enrique had a sad look on his face. The atmosphere on Barca's bench also froze for a while. Mourinho's Chelsea are too difficult to deal with. Whether it is defensive or high pressure, it makes Barca feel a very depressed feeling. Episode 149. The Wall of Sighs. Courtois, Mourinho and Steven are raising their hands to celebrate, but saw Remy push the ball out of the bottom line. Mourinho looked helpless. Let William warm up. Steven nodded. Turning to the Samba youth on the bench with an exploding head, he shouted, William, warm up. William took off his coat excitedly. Crazy rushing to the sidelines. Hey! Warm up. I didn't ask you to play. Chelsea's teammates on the bench were dumbfounded. The camera goes to Chelsea's bench. Yes. It's William who's warming up. Willian is a Samba genius who can play any position in the front and is known by fans as Mourinho's version of Ronaldo. Who is he going to replace? What does Mourinho's version of Xiao Luo mean? When William played with Samba and Miners, he was exactly the same style as Xiao Luo. The ball feel is good. The moves are very fancy. His idol is Xiao Luo. After the transfer to Chelsea, he was transformed by Mourinho, who did not allow him to use those fancy moves to pass, because it would slow down Chelsea's counterattack. Mad. How can Chelsea still have such a genius? Hey, not only that, there are several more special players on the bench. Mourinho has a lot of cards in his hand. One game to watch. Having money is not the same. The trouble of happiness. Camera footage gave Chelsea halftime. Mourinho shouted a call to Kanté from the sidelines. Kanté trotted forward restrainedly. Mourinho pointed to Chutian. Kanté nodded. The first half is not over. Is Mourinho going to make tactical adjustments again? It's rare, less than 40 minutes, for adjustments. He wants Kanté to keep an eye on Chutian. The game continues. Ter Stegen sent a goal. Come to the feet of Mascherano. Remy began to push back and forth again. Mascherano passed the ball to Chutian. Kanté immediately pressed forward. Chutian turned and leaned on him, touching the ball with one foot. Football rolls towards Busquets. Chelsea's formation gradually retreated. Kanté kept his eyes on Chutian, and the pressure on Barca's other teammates was greatly reduced. Every time Chutian catches the ball and stops the ball, it is a contest with Kanté. A dashing action. An action is unpretentious. Whenever football comes to the two-man zone, it will make the fans in the stands burst into applause. We seem to have seen a showdown between Guardiola and Makelele. It's like a battle between Deco and Davis. Harvey versus Gattuso. It's a showdown between two talented midfielders with extreme styles. Chutian got rid of Kanté again, faced the football rolling on the ground. In his field of vision, a brilliant passing line appeared. From God's perspective, Kanté was close to the guards against Chutian. Let the impenetrable Chelsea backline reveal a flaw. Chelsea's defense as a whole. Mourinho wouldn't have been so careless. Does he have anything to rely on? Is this yet another cage trap for counterattack? There is no time to think about it. Barca are already one goal behind. The first half is running out. The instep of Chutian's right foot was lifted towards the middle and lower part of the football. Football off the ground. High-speed swing. Set off a trajectory of great curvature. Crossed the Chelsea backline. Straight to the right half. Beautiful. The line of this foot pass is so exquisite. Les started inside. Barcelona's attack is coming. Nasheo drilled out of the strong Chelsea backline. Put the ball on the back of your right foot. Stop the ball to the extreme. Start running at high speed with the ball. Ahead is an open area, all in one go. The running speed of the inner small is also world-class. Ivanovic raised his hand to signal offside. The referee ignored it. Cahill and Terry did not chase back Nasheo, but followed Suarez and Messi respectively. Stands. The Chelsea fans couldn't help but get nervous. Eniaishao held the ball and entered the box. Chelsea's goalkeeper. Strike out. Courtois strikes at this time. It's unwise. The camera finally went to the Chelsea goalkeeper and he was invisible in the first half. Slow down slightly. Try to hang. Courtois stepped forward. Open your arms. Kneel on one knee. This is K-type blocking. The Chelsea goalkeeper is too bold. How dare he make such a blocking action in front of any Xiao? Why do I think this blocking posture is very handsome? Fast shot a less inside. What does K-type blocking mean? Uchiha laughed less. Courtois, this left knee action blocked the angle of his usual foot shot, but any less is the feet will be. In 2015, everyone thought that the left winger's usual foot was his right foot. He's really used to his feet. It's the left foot. Pick the ball of the inner major. Shoot straight at the goal. The football went high above Courtois' head. The angle and height of the trajectory are extremely fall to the goal. What a precise footwork. Barca are about to equalize. Hanging shots. The speed of football is generally not very fast. But Courtois didn't have time to turn around. The next moment, everyone was stunned. Courtois turned, stretched, jumped. Coherent, smooth, 2 meters tall, he stopped the football in midair with his hands. Dissolve this wonderful shot. The audience erupted in fierce cheers. What kind of waist and abdomen strength and turning ability is this? What is this reaction speed and action rate? It's so unreasonable. It's so sighing. Duan Xian and He Wei invariably expressed regret. Live room. The barrage flew up. Barca should be so unlucky. The round of 16 is Petr Cech. The quarterfinals are Courtois. Watching Chutian's game, I learned that the world-class door gods are not only Buffon, Cassie, and Neuer. Am I watching a cartoon? What a bombshell. You're not watching a cartoon. Cassie also pounced on Villa's wonderful hanging shot that year. After Courtois landed, he held the ball firmly. There was no immediate counterattack. With a proud face, he looked at Annie Xiao. Courtois has been a die-hard Real Madrid fan since childhood. I didn't like Barca so much. He was loaned to Atletico at the age of 19, and the Belgian TVL-TV specially interviewed him and found that his home in Madrid was full of Real Madrid scarves and shirts. This made Simone very angry. Courtois tossed the ball to Ivanovic. Ivanovic made a long pass with one foot on the ground. Matic found the middle of the road. Fabregas, Hazard, Oscar has already started running. The route for 3 people was very reasonable. Let Barca's backline retreat quickly. Matic took a look at Fabregas's position, sent out a straight foot plug. He played for Benfica in the front. Good passing ability. The ball rolls at high speed against the turf, coming to the feet of Fabregas. A tall blue figure appeared. Remy, cut the ball off. Fabregas looked confused. Nemanja Matic also looked stunned. Mourinho looked helpless. Stamford Bridge, quiet for 2 seconds, erupted into a loud roar. Fine. How did Remy intercept his own ball? This is a bit confusing, mommy. Laugh me to death. Remy did this again. Grab your teammate's ball. I snatched Hazard's ball once when I played Watford. He is too suitable for the Chinese Super League. Is there still less of a highlight in the Chinese Super League to grab a teammate's ball? Remy. Come to the Chinese Super League. Love, love. Remy is so cute. Remy didn't seem to realize he had grabbed Fabregas' ball. Kill with the ball into the heart of Barcelona. Mascherano highway forward. Remy immediately made a Henry ball move. He stomped the ball, tried to lean on Mascherano again. Henry's highlights have already started playing in my head. The next moment, ball broken. Mascherano gives the ball a long pass. Busquets, who was in the center circle, gave a look up, and Chutian was close to Chelsea's inside line of the half. Kanté is close to the outside. He immediately passed the ball obliquely to Chutian. Chutian slammed the ball on his heel. Turn around and get rid of Kanté. Once again, a brilliant passing line appeared in the field of vision. No time to hesitate. Kanté is glued up again right away. He got up immediately, sent a low flat long pass. Chutian doesn't have many opportunities to adjust. Kanté is staring too hard. This foot pass is no way. This ball can find Messi. This foot is long passed. The ball speed is extremely fast. Can crossed the heads of Azpilicueta and Terry. Holes pierced Chelsea's defense on the right. Messi crazy forward, plugged in. Azpilicueta and Terry frantically turned around and chased back. Messi is one step ahead. Keep the ball under your feet. This moment, the ball was like a part of his body. He started speeding up, cross-dribbling runs. Chelsea's left defense immediately began to curl up. Azpilicueta stopped in front of him. Messi is starting to change direction. Speed up, slow down, speed up. The world's unparalleled cadence is displayed on Stamford Bridge Stadium. He uses the most concise and efficient way. Past Azpilicueta. Past Terry. Kill to the forefront of the big forbidden area. Wonderful. This is Messi. The space for the shot is out. Incision. Knock on the door. Shoot with one foot in the instep. Football draws an arc. Blast into the far corner of the Chelsea goal. This moment, everyone's eyes widened. Messi's performance. It's amazing. Courtois was calm. He was on Messi's feet at the same time. I judged the position of the opponent's shot. Throw your body out, in front of the door line. Save the ball. The whole audience was in an uproar. It's Courtois again. Wonderful. Wonderful shots. Wonderful save. His goal line ability. Prejudgment ability. Reaction speed. It's all too strong. He is like a wall of size in Greek mythology. Let the Barca players look at the goal in front of you, but you can only look at it and sigh. Episode 150. Tough Chelsea, Barca crisis moment. Beep. Beep beep. The referee blew the whistle at the end of the first half. A wonderful first half. Chelsea lead Barca 1-0 with Remy's goal. Mourinho made 4 tactical adjustments in just one first half. Let's look forward to what Barca will do in the second half. How do you beat this Chelsea team? Chutian thought about it and walked towards the player channel. Iniesta patted him on the shoulder and said, Mourinho is Barca's biggest enemy. He coached Inter. When he was in charge of Real Madrid, he caused Barca a lot of trouble. Football is round and anything can happen. La Masia's passing is not a win-win situation, and in the 14 World Cup, we were also eliminated in the group stage. All these years everyone has been targeting Barca and tiki-taka. Mourinho is a pioneer among them. Chutian nodded, back to the locker room. Enrique unusually did not say empty words. Instead, the tactical board is constantly swinging. He looked a little excited, and his hand holding the little chess piece was shaking a little. Mascherano, you swap places with Peak. You come to the center guard free man. Suarez, you pay attention to the drawdown. Chutian, you kick the number 4 position. Busquets, you came to protect Chutian's ball, and everyone was surprised. Center back, free man. The center retraced. Bit 4. Isn't that the most traditional way they played in the La Masia Academy as a child? Iniesta and Messi pondered for a moment and suddenly realized. Barca's problem is that the ability to chase back and interrupt the rhythm of the opponent's counterattack is not good. In the case of the front line not participating in the strangulation, it's hard for the Barca midfielder to limit Fabregas's long passes and straight balls. Let Chutian delay. Let Suarez retreat to participate in the hanging. Having Mascherano act as the center-back of the middle of the 3 center-backs is not only a target for Hazard. More enhanced backcourt scoring ability. Mourinho is targeting Guardiola-style passing. Enrique chose the most traditional and most golden La Masian formation. Combine the system of the 3 center-backs to beat him. Barca vs Chelsea, no less than a Champions League final. There is no opponent more disgusting than Mourinho. He is the last opponent Barca has ever wanted to meet in the last decade or so. This Chelsea. It is the most systematic work of his coaching career. We can't concede any more goals in the second half. Enrique's eyes became very sensible. He knows beating Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is hard. Chelsea dressing room. Cantor came into focus. His teammates touched his little bald head appreciatively. Little man. That's great. You froze the Youngwood genius on the other side. Your running coverage and steals are too strong. Cantor smiled shyly. He didn't think he had frozen Chutian. Fabregas suddenly asked, what about the coach? Hazard pointed to the next room. The coach is teaching Remy. I have a bit of a bad hunch. How this picture is so much like he trained Balotelli during the Inter period. Fabregas remembered the famous event. Premier League fans took Remy, Lukaku, Sterling, and called them the 3 fools of the Premier League. Courtois laughed. Impossible. Can't be reversed. No one in Barcelona can break through my gates. The referee blew the whistle. The second half of the game begins. Chelsea kicked off. Remy looked a little unhappy. One kick back. The force of the return call was too great, and Nemanja Matic was a bit unresponsive. The ball slipped over the side. Fortunately, Terry behind him stopped the ball. This is a short moment. The Barca formation has spread out. Remy is such a surprising player. It was the first time I saw someone make a mistake on the kickoff. Remy must have been scolded at halftime. Ha ha ha. This little temper. Terry passed the ball to Fabregas. Fabregas observed for a moment, somewhat shocked. He is La Masia's specially trained number 4 position and also has the ability to translate pitch information into an aerial view in the brain. Barca's traditional formation? Bit 4? He didn't think much of it. Take a few steps with the ball and start organizing the attack. Chelsea's quick attack, just as sharp. Nemanja Matic is ready to plug in. Ivanovic's position came up to the left wing-back, echoing Hazard on the right. The whole Chelsea formation, with Fabregas as the center, moved fast. The home fans in the stands cheered. Chelsea's defense is strong, but that doesn't mean they're attacking poorly when they have the ball. Football comes to Hazard's feet. He shook over Alba. Before Peak approached, it was passed to Maschichi, who was plugged in. Matic was surprised to find himself surrounded. Suarez also retreated to the backfield. Get involved in the defense. This is a very rare situation. Remy opened her hands like crazy. Nemanja Matic didn't think too much about it and quickly knocked the ball sideways. The ball is fast. The line is accurate. The force is also appropriate. The football was in the middle of the road, stopped by a dark-haired figure. It's Chutian. This is the first time I've seen Chutian break the ball. From God's perspective, Chutian found that with the cooperation of teammates, it was not difficult to intercept the ball in the card position. He tried it. Just break the ball. Subsequently, long pass from the foot, football jumps high, scratch the sky over Stamford Bridge, from the Barca backfield, straight to the right side of Chelsea's half, long distance transmission, but Chelsea didn't have many people up front this time. They have 4 defensive players all in the backcourt. Messi, can Messi win the ball? Messi still suffered the loss of height after all. Cahill took off and pushed the straight-falling soccer ball out of bounds. Alba threw the ball out of bounds. After Iniesta received the ball, Kanté immediately pressed it up. There is no room for the ball to go forward. Iniesta immediately sent back Chutian. Chutian stood in the back position. Suddenly, I found that there are many horizontal passing lines. It's also easier to sort out the choice of midfield. Football in Barca's midfield after a few passes. Kanté pressed up. Keep an eye on Chutian. But, he soon found out, even if he had destroyed Chutian's ball with great difficulty, Busquets will be the first to complete the counterattack. Now Kanté, the steal ability and running coverage ability are very strong. But the ball handling technique is still very general. His entanglement with Chutian, because of Busquets' protection, it starts to become meaningless. His current position seems to be parallel to Remy. Because Chutian is now the number 4 position at the back, Kanté is confused. Barca's tactical system is a bit retro. Like the number 4 bit proposed by Cruyff in the 80s and 90s, a little different. Enrique added a 3 center-back system. Enhanced backcourt shooting ability. Barca are really playing around Chutian now. Courtside, Enrique was thrilled. It's more exciting than ever to see a team score. Winsu was also recalled with distant memories. Coach, I feel like I'm back to playing when Cruyff was in charge. The other side. The corners of Mourinho's mouth twitched slightly. Steven murmured, no matter how strong Kanté is, there is no way to target Chutian. Not just Busquets' protection. They also have a center-back free man. Mascherano, Chutian in the 4th position. There are more lateral ball options, and under the protection of Busquets and Mascherano, Kanté could only abandon the targeting of Chutian. Barca's passing of clouds and water began to unfold steadily from the midfield. How do I think that the strongest defense is Barca's passing control? Barca today is very close to Cruyff's theoretical idea. The most perfect football. Chelsea pulled back quickly. Chutian once again took control of the game. Barca are once again pressing Chelsea into the box. And the offensive formations began to disperse from the overhead lens. The Barca players are forming a U-shape in the siege of Chelsea. Barca's backfield is not empty. Mascherano, as a centre-back freeman, stood between Chutian and Peak, the U-shaped offensive chain of the 3 centre-back system. Kind of like the style of Noodle Nation coach Conte, it's different. The Noodle country does not have this foot skill of Barca players. Barca have launched a fierce attack on Chelsea. Their offensive coverage is now very wide. Every pass of Chutian's foot, the frequent running positions of MSN and Iniesta have caused Chelsea's backline to start loosening. Terry and Cahill are starting to feel struggling. Chutian's vision. There are also faint passing lines. Meanwhile, countless Barca fans and Yenwa fans are also excited. Aging Barcelona. The true usage of Chutian. Haha, don't be so middle too. Chelsea's defense is too strong. In a short period of time, Barca can't break through. We are Yenwa players. It is also the birth of a midfield master. Second, nothing rubbish time. Chelsea's defense is solid. Barca's offensive is like a storm. Make all the viewers feel that time passes quickly. Unconsciously, the referee is outside the center circle. Raised the LED card. Only 2 minutes of injury time? There's not much time left for Barca. Enrique's adjustment in the second half was very effective, and Barca were one breath away from scoring. Chutian constantly adjusted his position to pass the ball. Barca teammates also began to rush. Passing gradually began to make mistakes, especially the inner less. He serves as an important point of attack on the left side when surrounded. The passing force when knocking back to a teammate is particularly powerful. Messi glanced at the huge LED card above the field. 91:30.91 minutes and 30 seconds. Run out of time? This game is going to be lost. Countless Barca fans have a heart. Countless giants and coaches also feel that Barca are going to lose. 91 minutes 50 seconds. After receiving the ball on the left side, Nei Xiao found that there was no room for breakthrough. One kick to the cross. The ball flew to the top of the arc of the penalty area. Chutian adjusted his pace and prepared to stop the ball. An instant, a fragment of Flying Immortals appeared in his mind.